It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Monday, December 16th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is not wild about how that game went on
I get
Saturday.
it.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for listening to Locked On Flyers. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. And to keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials, including Blue Sky, and of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, that game against the Wild, I think it was frustrating in a bunch of ways. I think that, we're going to get into the Cam York and defensive roles of it all in the next segment before we get to our Nemesis of the week later in the show. But I think that if this was also one of those winnable games that just kind of went nowhere, right?
Well, I think it went south after the second goal. And I think the reason, now again, sure, you could blame Zamula if you want, and that's fine. My whole thing is, and I'm pretty sure it was a 4-on-4, right? If you got 4-on-4, why are you pressing two defensemen? It should never happen. I don't understand why this strategy seems to be a strategy. I get it. You're not scoring a lot of goals, but you got to look at the team you're facing and say, what's the consequences of us doing this? Well, you saw it. Matt Boldy got a goal. Now, the other consequence of that is at some point, Sam Ersson has to make a big save on these one-on-one situations. It can't be an automatic goal. And lately it has been.
Yeah, I mean, your 4-on-4 point is spot on. When I was watching the game, I was like, Minnesota is very clearly a faster team than the Philadelphia Flyers. And when you have that open ice, they're going to be able to take advantage much more quickly than the Flyers can. You got to play a more conservative defensive structure there. And you have to almost treat it like a penalty kill in some ways. You don't have to do that against every team, but against the Minnesota Wild, you absolutely do. And that was a huge, huge tactical error. It is not on Zamula particularly.
No,
it is a tactical error.
Defensemen are going to make mistakes. All defensemen make mistakes. It's built into the position.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, when defensemen are on the positive side significantly a plus minus, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, right? There's a reason for that.
Right.
And it's because of the fact that defensemen have a really tough job out there. And so I was very annoyed by that 4-on-4 strategy. And so I thought that absolutely was the difference in this game here, to your point, along with the goalie work. Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, it's his last game against the Philadelphia Flyers of his career. Is he going to show up for this one? You bet he's going to show up for this one. And of course, he made some spectacular saves. I think, you could argue to some degree that the Flyers weren't able to finish. Yes, that's true. You have the Matvei Michkov stick of it all floating out in the ether here, but I do think Marc-Andre Fleury just made the saves where Sam Ersson didn't in those big
it was obvious. I mean, and how do I say this in the nicest possible way? At like whatever age, 39, whatever, Fleury was
40.
Quicker post 40. He was quicker post to post than Ersson was in this game for whatever reason. He just was.
Yeah. And it's not that Sam Ersson can't make these saves. We've seen him make these saves before, and just this time he didn't.
Right.
And it made a difference.
Yeah, it matters. Also with the coach, look, you don't have to give a glowing report about Marc-Andre Fleury, but if somebody asks you about him, you could be classier and say he's had a great career. I've admired the way he's played. That's all. It's a quick, easy thing. It's a nice thing for a reporter to put in there. It's a nice thing for Marc-Andre Fleury to hear, who's maybe the nicest guy in the league. I mean, it's
upsetting how nice and charming he is.
Oh, no, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yeah, and, towards saying I'm not tipping my cap to anybody, referring to Marc-Andre Fleury postgame, yeah, he could have handled that a
He
little
could have
better.
handled that better. Yeah.
But I do think that I I can understand him being frustrated about the outcome of this game
Sure, but, like, it's
simply
the game's
because,
over. Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it was winnable, and there was just these couple of key moments that
Yeah.
went the Wild's way, and I think in some respects, those moments could have just as easily gone the Flyers' way, and that's why I say it was a winnable game, and I think, you know, it's not something to get upset about, I think, this loss in particular in the grand scheme.
Well, I mean, it's one to get upset about if you felt like this team could keep up with the better teams in the league, because right now it was shown that they can't. For whatever reason, the score showed it can't. The other thing that the Flyers are missing, and in segment 2, I'll talk about another thing the Flyers are missing, but the one thing the Flyers are missing, just because you have bigger forwards like Forster and Tippett, doesn't mean they're impact power forwards like a Matt Boldy. And the
Mm.
Flyers still do not have that. They have searched for this and they still don't have it. Now, I know what Tippett and Forster can do as far as scoring, but there's other things that Boldy does in the game that are really valuable. And honestly, it's no slight to those guys, but they don't have that little extra that that guy has. And
And I think Forster is closer
he's closer.
than Tippett on that front, 100%, but he's not Matt Boldy. That is 100% true, and I think that if he wants to work to get closer to that, I think that's something that
To
Tortorella
shoot for.
wants from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he can
No.
get closer to that, and if he wants to, or if that's what role they've decided for him, right? It's one
Right.
of those 2 things, and or both at the same time, I guess. But I don't necessarily think that that's the ideal way for Forster to be playing, but I think that it could find him a role in the NHL 100% if he does that.
Yeah, and so with Matvei Michkov, when people 2 things people always ask me. Until Kirill Kaprizov got in the league, they used to always say, "Who's the best player not in the league?" And I'd always say Kirill Kaprizov. And it's only because I got to see him enough in the World Juniors at that time. Now you don't even get that to be able to make that determination. So
Yeah.
then when people said, "Hey, Matvei Michkov, where do you think he stands in the lexicon of Russian players?" And I said, somewhere between like a Kaprizov and a Panarin. And that's what he is to shoot for. And I think that's what he'll shoot for. He's not there yet. It's his rookie season. Kaprizov came over much older. So this could be a 2-3 year process until he starts having the impact that Kaprizov has. He's had really good impact, but Kaprizov just has more impact right now. He's
Right, and
possibly an MVP in the league, you know.
yeah, and I think you saw why in that game. I mean, he
Yes.
was all over the place. He is
And he may have
extremely
been
noticeable.
throwing up before the game. I don't know what that was. They were showing him with his head
Yeah,
down on the bench, and then I saw
I
him
don't
move
know.
his foot. I don't know if he spit up something, threw up something, then he took the smelling salts. He clearly wasn't feeling great before the game, and it didn't matter.
Well, did not matter one bit on the ice. He was the most noticeable player on the ice by a mile in the game. And I think, going back to Mitchkov and where he
Yeah,
is on the development there, I think that's totally fair. And, I think to expect, a 19/20-year-old now to have the maturity and the consistency that Kaprizov has now. I mean, it did take Kaprizov a while to get here. I don't think it's fair to have that expectation on Mitchkov. There's a reason
right,
why they are rookies. It's like they have
right.
something to learn.
Yeah,
And so if he's not like scoring every single game or keeping up with Celebrini or what, I don't care.
right.
I just want him to develop properly,
Yeah. No, and that's the
right?
point I was trying to make, and I think that's the proper one. Now, somebody who was a detriment in this game was Garnet Hathaway.
Mm.
He derailed them quickly with that penalty. It didn't cost him, but that was bad. It was early on. He was overly aggressive at times. You know, he's fighting Foligno. Foligno didn't even want to fight, I don't think,
I know. That was
but he forced
yet
him into
another
a
dumb
fight.
fight.
He forced him into a fight. Like he, I think, took away from some of the flow of that game. Instead of adding what he thought he was adding to it, I think he subtracted. I know he had an assist on that late goal, but whatever.
Yeah, I think so. But Yeah, it was a tough loss in a lot of ways, an understandable loss in a
Yep.
lot of ways, and definitely something I think the Flyers can learn from
Except
and
on the
move
power
on.
play. They're not learning on the power play, but we'll get even a
Well,
little to that next segment.
yeah, I think they are on the puck movement side of things. I think the puck
Okay.
movement looked a little better in this
Okay.
game on the power play, and, the
But
stats bear that out.
exhausting the first power play is not a good
Right.
strategy.
Well,
And that's what they
there's
did.
the usage and there's the use of defensemen on it, which is the big part of it. And we are going to talk about that. And Cam York specifically in this game because he made a mistake. And then looking at him and comparisons and the power play, we're going to get into all of that coming up next. Some of the best events of the year take place around the holidays, and sharing them with friends and family makes the perfect gift. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. And Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. My favorite part of the Game Time app is that it's great for getting notified about last minute flash deals, plus their super deals. So you know you're getting the best bang for your buck. And best of all, they have all in pricing. So there's no surprise fees at checkout when you activate that feature. And your tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through email. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. On Tuesday, we will be talking Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and they had a frustrating weekend that ended on a good note. So excited to get into that. Plus, we'll be answering your mailbag questions on Wednesday. So get those in. You can email us at lockdownflyers@gmail, send us a message on all of our socials, or comment on our YouTube channel. All right, Russ. So Cam York made a somewhat significant mistake against the Wild that led to the Rossi goal that kind of put the game out of reach at that point. And there was a lot of chatter about, oh, Cam York, what is he even doing here? Um, you know, he was supposed to originally be a power play guy, and now he's never on the power play and is 5-on-5. He makes these mistakes.
I think we
Like,
learned
what?
early on that he wasn't going to be that power play guy. That's okay.
Correct. This is just what's out
I
there.
know.
This is
I
not
just have
me
to
talking.
interject that when I hear it, and I have to
I get it. I
interject it.
get it.
I do.
So it's like, I feel like we're being a little unfair to Cam York here. And I will say, especially because we've seen, the play of Emil Andre. Now, he was just out for the second game in a row, which is the max I wanted. We'll see if he gets back in the next game. I would hope so. But with Andre playing better and with Drysdale looking very good since his return, kind of the Cam York naysayers are coming to the surface. And I don't think that's fair.
No, it's not. But I'm looking at Instat, and there's some surprising stuff on here. So, for one thing, his ice time 22:36 is too high. He, even if you're putting him on the top pair, you shouldn't put him on the top pair for the entire game and most of the third period or whatever. A lot, and there should be an adjustment there mid game if you want to have him out there at the end of the game, because he's just not that guy. He's not a 23-minute a night defenseman, no matter what. He just isn't. He's
Right.
not built for that. So that's one
Right.
thing. He, it's 37% shots on goal. We get. We've been through that. So that's why he's not a power play guy. Fine. The thing is, he's winning 61% of his puck battles, which is good, but he's
Yep.
not necessarily winning them with physicality because his hits are only 0.38 hits. Now, this is where he gets hurt, because my assertion always was he's a second pairing defenseman, but he's been
Yes.
elevated. So his hits are 0.38, but his hits against are 1.63. And he is getting outworked by more elite defensemen in this league. So you can only do so much with that. And
Yeah.
so it's not really his fault. He's not that guy, but he's being used like that guy.
Right. And that's where I want to call this the Travis Sanheim syndrome in a lot
Yes,
of
and that's
ways.
exactly what it is, because he's playing a spot now that he's about 75%
He's in the
good
old
at.
Sanheim spot, right? Where
Yeah.
he's playing up and he shouldn't be there yet. Sanheim
Right.
now can be there, right?
He
But
could be there, but he's still not even there offensively. Probably never will be, but he's closer. So we're
he's
like,
closer, right?
so we're good. We're good. It's fine.
Travis Sanheim can fake being a number one defenseman
Correct.
just fine on this team, right?
Yes.
No bones. He used to not be able to do that. That's
Right.
where we are with Cam York in the number 2 spot,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So he is being pushed to do things that he is not capable or ready of doing. So he's
Right.
getting that additional ice time, to your point. And not only that, because he's in that top pairing, he's getting a lot more defensive starts. Like if you want to talk up Jamie Drysdale, because he's on the power play and because he's not on that top pairing, he's getting a ton more offensive zone starts compared to Cam York. And even at 5-on-5, apples to apples here, Jamie Drysdale is at 11.6% offensive zone starts and Cam York's at 9.2. So I think, there's something to that there in terms of the matchups, to your point about the physicality and the situations that
Well,
Cam
here's what
York
I
is
have on
being put in.
Instat. So for Instat, we've got 53% defensive zone starts for York, which is really high. That's good.
Yeah.
Offensive zone starts for Jamie Drysdale is 75%.
Mm-hmm.
75% on the season, 15% in the defensive zone. So he is being sheltered. So there is a difference.
Yeah, and
there.
these money puck stats I'm pulling include on the fly, so that's why the numbers are much lower.
Okay.
Like Instat just does it when there's like a stoppage, right?
Right.
So that's where the numbers themselves, but the it comes out in the wash the same, right?
Right.
Whereas, so if you want to talk up Drysdale, who to be fair has had a great game since his return, right? And is like providing really good offense.
He's a conundrum. He's not providing good offense for himself. He's making more opportunities for his teammates, but he's not putting up any points. He only has 1 point.
No.
So that's a little baffling. Like this is one where it's hard to figure out what's going on.
Right. And that's why I want to just tamper this down in terms of, Drysdale can do whatever York needs to do, and we don't need Cam York, because that is not true.
Right. No.
We do need Cam York because he does different things. First off, he's playing in situations that are above his pay grade and he's managing mostly well. He does make mistakes, as to your point, all defensemen do.
They do.
And unfortunately, in this particular game, one of them led to that goal. But I don't think it's a reason to A, give up on Cam York, or B, not think he can't get there the way that Sanheim did to some degree.
Right. Now, if we get away from this conversation and just get to the really obvious one. So I see no reason why Emil Andre sat in this game. And I'm going to tell you, it was to the detriment of the team in 2 ways.
The speed.
The speed is one. That's the obvious one. That's not even, I'm not even going there. The first one is obviously power play 2. All Zamula can do is pass. So when a team is setting up against the Flyers on power play 2, they don't even care what Zamula does with the puck. He makes the job so much easier for the opposition. And no offense to Bobby Brink, but if the team is going to be right on him, he's not going to score. Like, he's just not going to. There's no deception there. So again, having Emil Andre out for 2 games in a row makes no sense. Makes no sense. But here's the other thing. So when you watch the breakouts and everything else from the defensemen on Minnesota, they were much better, crisper, faster, all of that. That's what Andre does for this team. Drysdale's pretty good at it, but Andre's better at it. That's just the way it is. You can have your own preconceived notions about what Drysdale is supposed to be, and he's not there yet, but Andre can do that.
He's going to make mistakes too.
Well, that's the problem here. So now this is the conspiracy stuff that I get texted to me. Well, Andre, he probably was hurt, and that's why he hasn't played. Well, okay, they said he was a healthy scratch. If they were cautious for 1 game, this was the game that they didn't need to be cautious about. So it's not that. And then if you looked into Torts' comments 2 games ago, he didn't love the way Andre played. Well, okay, because he did make a mistake. But again, what you're missing for the rest of the game, aside from that mistake, puck movement, speed, power play 2,
breakouts.
breakouts, all of those things. It's not fair to say, well, Zamula can't do that because that's not the kind of defenseman he is. But the problem is when you put him in there instead of Andre, then you're going to have someone like me bring it up and say, it's so obvious. It makes no sense.
Right. And that's why it's fine to have Drysdale on power play too. I have no issues with that.
No.
I think that's a perfect spot for him on the power play right now. Andre is the PP1 guy.
He really is.
And I think
it's way better with him out there.
Yeah, the benefit you get outweighs the mistakes he's going to make. And you just have to kind of manage that. And, Risto, I think, has been doing a really good job helping to manage that. And
except I did see something alarming with Risto. I think his speed is starting to slow down because of the minutes and everything else. I think because of, injury and whatever. I don't know what it is exactly. I think he's hitting a little bit of a wall speed wise, because if you looked at some of those plays where he's getting back, can't really get back as fast as he should when it's against a faster team. So that's something I'm going to be watching out for. Otherwise, he's had a really good season, but I'm just saying that's something I've noticed in this game.
So I think ultimately there's just some issues with usage and
there's issues with usage
on the blue line here, and Cam York should not be like the scapegoat here is the ultimate conclusion.
Right. And again, this is me. I don't run the team, but even with Emile Andre, I still would be looking for, and would have drafted already, but I'm moving past that, still would be looking for that stud number one offensive defenseman, because even Andre is probably not that. He's just that notch below. Yeah, he's just that notch below. And they still need this. And I don't even think it's a size thing, because if it was Quinn Hughes, you wouldn't say a word. It wouldn't matter. So I'm just saying they still need that player. And they should still be looking for that player in drafts.
Yep. All right. To be continued, because there is always something with the Flyers defensemen. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about moving forward. In the meantime, it's Monday, so we will have our Nemesis of the week coming up next.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I would say take the Rams over the Jets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or you were paying for twice? That has definitely happened to me. And I had a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for. Rocket Money made it so easy to track them down. It's like having a personal assistant for your wallet. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, spending habits, even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features, including the subscription tracker to help you cancel those services you no longer use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions, reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, before we dig into our Nemesis of the week, just got to do a quick World Juniors update because we got some more roster information over the weekend. And the biggest story here, at least for the Flyers prospects, is Team Canada. Obviously thrilled for Jet Luchenko, Oliver Bonk, and Carson Bjarnason for making the teams. They were pretty much going to be a lock. We weren't worried about it. Now it's Carson Bjarnason. Is he the #1 goaltender for this team?
That's a question we don't know.
That's the question we don't know yet. And we certainly hope he is. That's what he wants. And it's good for his development. But, we'll see when the camp and the tournament gets going, how it comes out. The problem here is that we were really hoping that Denver Barkey would make this squad, and he just didn't again, and it is so heartbreaking for him.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is because he's a winger. They have so many centers on this team. So someone said, well, Berkeley Catton's a small guy too. Yeah, but he's a center and he could take more faceoffs and be better at them than Denver Barkey.
There's more flexibility there.
And that's the reason. That's the reason.
Yep, and it's unfortunate, and somebody had to get the short end of the stick there, and it was Denver Barkey. But I'm sure, as it does with many players, that will help motivate him. To get better in the future, and so I think the Flyers will benefit in the long run from.
Yeah, they'll get a good player. Don't worry.
Yeah, Team Finland finally made their announcement. Heikki Ruohonen is official now. He will be on their roster for World Juniors. And we already knew about Jack Berglund for Team Sweden. So we officially have 5 Flyers prospects in the tournament, which is pretty solid.
That's really good. I mean, some teams have none. So that's nice.
Yeah, so it'll be a fun tournament to watch that starts at the end of the month, right after Christmas. Looking forward to that. Now, turning to the Nemesis of the week. Last week, I talked about, the struggle when hard work doesn't pay off. And that was sort of a me thing and a Flyers thing when, they play a really good game, but still don't win in the end, how frustrating that is. And you talked about there was like that game where there was like a lineup issue at the beginning.
Yes.
And it took where the game was starting at like 8:30 and you're like, come on, let's go.
Yeah,
Or like
you should have
7:30
figured this
or
out
something.
already. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also it's getting dark early because the earth is on an axis and rotates and science. So at any rate, this week for me, I think the Nemesis is the NHL schedule and it being repeat week for the Flyers. Now, I know we are going to see the LA Kings later this week, which is new and shiny and fun and
that's
different.
Fun. Yeah.
And that is fun. But we see the Detroit Red Wings again this Wednesday, who we literally just saw. And then on Saturday, we see the Columbus Blue Jackets, who literally we just saw. And I know at a certain point, later in the season, we get to the in-division rivals, and that's who it is all day, all the time. I think, we're not even getting our first Penguins game until like literally a week from today. So,
which is crazy.
Just crazy. So the fact that we have to see the Red Wings and the Blue Jackets again this week.
I mean, it's an in-state rival. What are you doing?
I know. Well, and we're literally like yesterday we saw Eagles Steelers. Like, come on,
Yeah.
Like, can we put this together? So yeah, I'm just really bummed about the repeats in the schedule this week, and that is why it is my Nemesis.
No, I get it. Mine is going to be on holiday packaging. So I get it. If you have a special holiday edition of something and you've added, like, I don't know, if it's a Milano cookie and you've added peppermint, put all the holiday stuff you want on it because it's different. You've tried to make it holiday-ish, Christmassy, whatever. Now I'm seeing just like pictures of Santa on Coke bottles. Like, what is the point of that? Am I going to buy another Diet Coke with the Santa on it rather than the one without the Santa? No, I don't care. I'm just reaching in and I'm getting it. Like, what is the point of that? It just makes no sense. And they're not the only company doing it. It's just a complete waste of time. And it's just a barrage of that. And it's just like, if you've changed the formula, great. But if everything's the same, which I'm sure in Diet Coke, it is completely the same because it didn't say different formula, just leave the packaging alone, please. Because it looked even different. Like the label looked muted. I looked at it like, is this even Diet Coke? I didn't even know what it was. So just as an example.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't care as much about the holidays as you do. So I'm just like, okay, whatever makes you happy.
Well, it affected me as far as what a selection. I had to look twice at it. It's a waste of time for me. So for me, it was. You don't get out enough.
Oh, okay. I do. I just do different things with my time.
I know.
Which is fair. But just a quick note before we go. I am now hosting the weekly women's hockey report on Locked On. So it is on the Locked On NHL channel feed. So check that out. Me and Erica Ayala put our first episode out on Saturday. We're covering the PWHL and international hockey with a little bit of college hockey thrown in there as well. Should be a good time. So check that out. And as a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So if you've got Flyers questions or thoughts on the team, let us know on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment over on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology and all those same socials. SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert. Get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great Monday, everyone.